God gives gifts, he doesn't, when anybody gives gifts, he doesn't just say, here's your gift, now go use it. He's like, here's a gift I gave to you. Like, enjoy this gift, hold this gift, bring it to your room, bring it to your hiding place and enjoy this gift. And then he'll take us on the journey of sharing that. Like our gifts, even our ministry can become our identity. And that's not the point either. The point is just to stay children, stay a child of God, and have open hands, and see what he has for us.
To another episode of Made to Shine. As you just heard in that introduction, we are in for such a stinking delight today. We have the beautiful, amazing, impressive, humble Rachael Lampa on with us today. I mean, I am just tickled over here. I'm kind of fangirling low-key because your songs have ministered to me and my family so much. Literally, Rachael, on the way to Thanksgiving, I was playing Somebody to You, and Lizzie was like, you get to talk to her? And I was like, yes, I do. And it's really... But the reason, your songs are amazing. A lot of people know who you are. You just came off of tour, and which is so amazing. But you're such a light in everything that you do. I mean, yes, you're a singer. Yes, you're a songwriter, but you're also a mom. You're a wife. Yeah. And it's so apparent that in all you do, you shine the light of the Holy Spirit. And that's what we're all about here. It's like everywhere you go, you have a ministry. And so, Rachael, thank you so much for being on today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored. And I say it right back to you with your light and your joy. And I mean, even just your spirit is like, is already uplifting to people at all. Like the second, you start to talk, it's just like, okay, all right, it's okay.
You are so sweet. It is so funny how, like in the Bible, it talks so much about how your words have weight. And it's ironic. This week, I've had so many conversations with people about the weight of your words and the weight of your name, and how when people think of your name, what do they think of? A lot of times it's the words you've said to them or what you say about others when they're with you. And it's true. It's like words have the power to speak life or death. And you're a singer. So you sing like into people's hearts with those words, and you have a chance to light them up. And you do. Like your music just transcends. And so I'm so grateful for your heart, because a lot of the lyrics, they're vulnerable. Like you show your scars for us to have kind of a survival guide as well. And I'm excited to dive in. But Rachael, before we do, we have to kick this off with how we kick off every single Made to Shine conversation, which is, what is your favorite quote or Bible verse, whatever have you, and why? What does it mean to you?
Gosh, okay. This is one of those questions that like ebbs and flows, and then you think you have it and you're like, yeah, that's definitely it, and then you're like, oh wait, no, that's not the one. I mean, right now, this one kind of like is like kind of the heartbeat behind a lot of stuff that I try to hang on to, and as far as quotes and scriptures, but it's just like Romans 12 as a whole talks a lot about just weep with those who are weeping, rejoice with those who are rejoicing. Just the whole gist of the whole thing is like, we are one body but many parts. We're not supposed to do the same thing that the other parts do. We're supposed to walk with each other and help each other when we're in need and lift each other up. And so that's not like the perfect quote, sorry, but that whole chapter in general is just kind of my jam.
It's so prevalent, because I think, especially when we think about the people we're speaking to right now, we do live in a world where, for the most part, it's pretty new to be able to just constantly watch somebody else's life. And to that point, I mean, I know I've even had times where I've seen someone on stage and I'm like, dang, I wish I was a good singer. That would be so cool. And the problem and the danger there is when we try to manufacture gifts from God because we want a certain
Yeah.
style instead of recognizing God gifted us to be a certain part of the body that's
Yes.
just as important. But I do think we have a big generation out there that idolizes other gifts versus the ones God gave them.
Yeah.
And you all like you have God gave you the gift of singing. Like he did.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just so apparent. And I'm curious if we went back, like, did you always know you were a good singer? Or when were you like, okay, I'm good. You know what I mean? This is a gift.
I definitely like could not keep my mouth shut my whole my whole life. Like I would get like in trouble at the dinner table for just like yapping and singing and like singing everything. Like if somebody would be like pass the ketchup, I'd be like pass the ketchup, like I was
Yes.
always kind
Yes.
of be that person. I still kind of am. So it was definitely always like in me, and it was always like innately happening. But I don't know when I was like, oh, this might be something. I think that was kind of my mom probably who said that first, where she was like, now, like this isn't just, like you're not just enjoying this, but like other people are enjoying it too.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of started to turn, especially like as I think like about second grade, I did the talent show, and I was like, oh, I really, really liked that. Like I really felt something big happening and bigger happening there. And so I'd say if I was like actually aware that like this might be like more than just a hobby or something that, I just enjoy doing, that it might be like a gift that I can use and
Mhm.
share, was probably second grade, I think.
Wow. Okay. And so I think, I asked because I think there's a lot of people that are 18, 19, 20, and they're like, God, what is my gift?
Yeah,
What am I doing? So do you think now, because you're a mom, so you're raising how many children do you have again?
two, two.
You have two. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're kind of seeing this from the perspective of maybe your mom was the first one that introduced your gift to you. Do you think it's typically others that see it in us before we see it in ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many dimensions to it because I think there were a lot of people in my life that were like, you have this gift, you have to go use it. You're needed. The world needs you. God needs you. This whole that voice. And then there was this other voice in my life that was like, what a beautiful way that God has given you to spend time with him and enjoy him
Wow.
and enjoy what God does. And then out of the overflow of that like joy, then you can share it. And I think that there are fewer people that are saying that, um and there are more people just being like, go 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 use it, blah, and so
Wow.
I think it's easier to like just see in somebody like, whoa, you're talented, or wow, you really stand out in that way, um and that's awesome. But I think like the thing that really made the difference is when people started to point out, and my mom was one of these people, like, this is, like when God gives gifts, he doesn't, when anybody gives gifts, he doesn't just say, here's your gift, now go use it. He's like, here's a gift I gave to you, like, enjoy this gift, hold this gift, bring it to your room, bring it to your hiding place and enjoy this gift. And then he'll take us on the journey of sharing that, and especially, thinking about 18 and 19-year-olds, I was the busiest of my that I ever was in my entire life. When I was 18, 19, I was touring and doing recording and traveling, and just it was the busiest time of my life. And even then, I was like, what are my gifts? And because it's easy to just be like, all right, singing, there it is. There's my thing. That's the thing that I do. That's the way that I connect with people. And I think I would put a big warning label on that,
Mhm.
because that can become our identity. Like our gifts, even our ministry can become our identity. And that's not the point either. The point is just to stay children, stay a child of God, and have open hands, um and see what he has for us. because
Yeah.
because you can get really lost in all that. And
That's so true. And you talked about children. I was at coffee with someone yesterday, and I was
Mhm.
like, we, so many of us parade around like we have it all figured out. And I'm like, we are all just babies in the eyes of God. Like,
Yeah,
and
yes, yes,
God will never give you something that makes you need him less. And I think a
yeah.
lot of us look at our gifts as, okay, this is mine. Like it's my
Whoa,
steward. And someone said something to me a couple months ago that convicted me so much, which is,
yeah.
Annie, it's great to be for God and want to be used by God and to work for God, but are you with God? Like
Oh my gosh,
walking for
yes,
God is different than walking with God.
yes,
And I think it was Lisa Bevere that said, like, before God wants to use you, he wants a relationship with you.
yeah,
And so many of us, I think we have this idea of a gift in our brain, and we are kind of contorting it in a way where it's like this thing that God gave us that we're supposed to make happen. Like we're
yes,
supposed to steward,
yes,
instead of it being this thing that almost we step by step walk with God to figure out
exactly.
how to steward it. And
Yeah,
in the process, we learn more about God and
and
ourselves.
ourselves. Yeah,
Sounds
I
like
know.
that was your story. And
Totally. Yeah, it's like he's unfolding us. Like it's not like this thing where we have to add and build and create this like impressive thing like look what I did, he's like actually like this will be the way that we walk together, and so um and it's hard, it's like really hard to stick to that all the time, especially when it's like going well, when it's
yeah,
like going really well, you're just like yeah, like I'm doing it, I don't need any other ideas or any other guidance, like this is the thing, but really sometimes God is like okay, I took you here for I took you to this city for this person, not I didn't
so
take you this city to put on a big flashy exciting show. Like there's
yeah,
one person that needs to hear you here, or one
that's
person that
so
needs to come into contact with your drummer here, like it's not I am not the point, you know what I mean? Um
it's so good.
and yeah.
It's and especially, I mean, you specifically with what you do, I know so you said when you were 18, 19, like you were touring, you were doing all these things, like you rose to fame pretty quickly. You were on TV shows, like you were, or like you were doing interviews, all these things
Hmm.
that a lot of people look at and they're like, Rachel, that's the goal. I mean, that is the goal. I want to go viral and stay viral. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what everybody wants to do.
yeah,
But you chose to go into kind of a season of anonymity. Like you walked away. So tell me, was that kind of the struggle in that season, or what was kind of the
yeah.
compelling
I
nature
think it
there?
was a lot of things. There's a lot. Yeah, that was a huge part of it, was just like when you dream of something and you have this passion burning in your heart, and then you get it, and then you're like, oh, I don't feel better. I
Oh,
feel more tired, and I feel like less in touch with um with the Lord. Like that was the biggest thing for me. It was like okay, I have a lot of voices coming in to my world, and I can't figure out which one is God's, which one is mine, where that one voice that is me and God is, and it's just like it's managers and record labels and all these other voices. And I just got to a point where I was like I needed to completely, kind of shut it down and see if I would still be okay, and see
yeah.
if I could, figure out how to just be and be in his presence and be okay with that, and let that be enough. So it was a mixture of a lot of things, but a lot of burnout and a lot of feeling like there was I had lost the connection. um
Mm.
yeah, and just like and in turn it was like I wasn't feeling inspired to write anything, I wasn't feeling inspired to go on the road, I was, and my energy was low, I just needed like a total reset.
Wow. So you used the word connection there.
Mhm.
When you think about connection, because I think about this of my own walk from God, like whether or not you're a singer doing what you're doing, or you are a corporate marketing executive or a senior in college, we all
Yeah,
have voices that
yeah,
just cloud us, whether it's a teacher, a coach, a boss, a friend, an employee, whatever.
yeah.
How do you, so that connection, that word connection that you, it was a way, it sounded like you were trying to get back to the connection. What does it feel like when you feel God's voice? And do you think
Yeah.
it's the same for all of us, or is it different? Because we're different
Mm,
than his. What is that like?
I know. I wish we knew. I wish we knew
Yeah, me
exactly
too.
if it was what the formula was. But you're exactly right. With when you said getting back, because I think that is where we are closest to God, is in the center of our being, in the center of our souls, the place where He lives. Forever, like eternally, like he's never going to leave us, he's in there. But we're the ones who put things in the way, and put obstacles and layers and all that. So when I do feel the most connected to God is when there when I get back down to who that is, and that's usually little baby Rachel. you know and like, circling back to like just being a child of God, is like when I can simplify, and when I can start to take things away and take layers back and you know pull some curtains back, and it's just me, it's just uh, baby Rachel, and the God that she remembers meeting, um when there wasn't all of this, when before the world got to me. um I guess that's the closest way that I can imagine saying it, is just like when it feels simple, when it feels
Mm,
small and not this big thunder earthquake, like
yeah,
it's a small voice, and it's not it doesn't have to be impressive, or something to like go make a post about, even, like, you know what I mean, like it's giving me no material. That's when I know, because sometimes, with what I do, and maybe with what you do, it's like you get this amazing moment with the Lord, or you have this amazing conversation, you just want to like go post it and like go share it with the world and stuff. And I feel like sometimes the ways that he like when he really connects, it's like I don't even know how I can talk about that. I don't even know how to make that, like a thing, because
yeah,
it was just so personal and holy and small, even.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Was yeah, and I'm curious, like what you did. Well, did you stop? So when you kind of talk us through that transition of you were in the spotlight, you were going, 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 and then all of a sudden you weren't. Did you just stop writing music altogether, or what did? Was it a sharp stop, or was it kind of gradual?
In Now looking back, that was like, okay, ready for it, about 20 years ago. So looking back, there was a lot of like my 18, or actually I was about 21, so a little less than 20 years ago. um when so a lot of that was just my brain being like, I only have 21 years of experience on this earth. So from what I know right now, like I need to stop. I went in to my record label, um with my brother, like no managers or lawyers or anything like that, and I just said, because at that point I would have had, I think my fourth album was due, or fifth. And I was about to start a very high pressure process, basically, where you get in the studio and you write and you write and you write, and you try to come up with these things that are deeply personal and musically exciting, but that also the record label thinks is marketable, and the managers say
Yeah,
are good enough. And there's, again, like all these voices, and the thought of that for me was like so mind-boggling, and I just knew I couldn't, that I mean the time that I did hear God's voice was like, no, no more. Like, not right now, like just step back. And so I went in with my brother, and yeah, just asked them if I could be let go. And usually that is actually a very like long drawn out legal process to leave your record label and do the whole thing. And they just saw my heart and my honesty and the fact that God was really leading that, and they let me go very easily and gracefully. So luckily, yeah, so that was a huge I mean, that was like such a thing that God, blessed me with along the way, was like a peaceful, amicable, break apart from the label. So yeah, I guess in my eyes right now, it was pretty abrupt. Yeah, to be able
Yeah.
to be just like, ah, I
That's it.
literally like became a nanny like a couple weeks later.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is so good. This is so good because I'm curious. Like you were this on the rise singer. I mean, you were on the rise, like not just up. Like you were on the like, at the up, and now you're a nanny. Was there and I like in the first couple of weeks? Did you wrestle with identity? Did you wrestle with like? Wait, this thing that was that ever feelings or was it easy peasy lemon squeezy? You never worried at all if you made the right decision or not.
Oh, big time identity stuff that probably lasted for maybe 10 years. Like,
Wow.
like it definitely shook me completely because all I ever knew was the version of me that was, on stage or eventually on stage or like,
Yeah.
in a room, like a lot of people knew that I sing, like that was just like, and if I walk into a party or a coffee shop, the question is,
What do you
what's
do?
coming up? Yeah, what are you working on? Where, all that kind of stuff. So it's just like when it's constantly around that, all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what to talk about, and I don't know, and nobody knows what to talk to me about, um and I had to kind of relearn how to like have, actually maybe for the first time, like learn how to have just normal friendships, because I signed my record deal when I was in the summer of 8th grade, so I was 14.
Holy cow!
Yeah, yeah,
They pick them young. That is
yeah, yep,
wild.
yep. Those, yeah, that's one thing that we've improved on, is not plucking people out of middle school.
Dang.
Yeah,
Like poaching. Wow.
yeah.
Okay,
So
so
I was,
yeah, this identity's been yours for a while then up
yeah,
at this point.
totally. I mean, even before then, it was a big part of it. But from the time I was 14 on, it was just like I went to regular high school, but I toured half the year and I was gone all the time. And it was
Wow.
just, yeah, it was my thing. And it was comfortable and I was used to it and that's what I knew. But yeah, having to kind of switch back to, um, you know, like wake up in the same city every single day and try to think, come up with a rhythm and and a friend
Yeah.
group and, just the whole thing. I feel like I just
Okay.
kind of had to start over,
What?
at 21, at an age where, it's like most people are just kind of out there with their friends, like trying to figure it out. I was like, crickets, and actually one of my best friends they were all older than me, except for Stacy Rico, which if you listen to any Christian music back then, you know her. Um, but again, we were both in the same boat, so we were like, we don't know how to do this, and um, so
That is powerful though,
mm,
because I think so many people think when they step out in faith to do the thing God's called them to do, they're gonna feel peace about it all the time.
mm,
And I am like, good night. We got that
yeah,
narrative. If like
yeah,
if you read the Bible, it's like every single person that stepped out in faith, the winds come and the
yeah,
rains
yes,
and
yes,
they even question. So I guess talk to me about what you held on to when things on the surface, quite frankly, sucked and they
yeah.
weren't figured out. And was it almost the cost of knowing the pain to stay where you were was so much more than the pain of that? Or was there
Mm.
something else?
Yeah, I mean, it feels so crazy like talking about that, like
Mhm.
I'm it feels like another person almost.
Yeah.
When I like see those old videos and stuff, I'm like, it's like an old baby picture, not like a, in my 20s,
Yeah.
like
Like a
memory.
high
It's like,
school yearbook photo where you're
yes,
like,
yeah,
what?
so you're just like,
That's a
wait a
cat
minute, who
hairstyle.
was that? Yeah, what were they thinking? What were they wearing? All this stuff.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I mean, I think what held on to, I have a really solid uh sibling group. With There's four of us, and we all
Sure.
really,
Oh,
oh
we're
my
so excited. I
god.
love that. Yeah, my siblings are my best friends.
Oh, that's awesome. We are so lucky. We are like, that
We are.
is just the,
We are.
oh yeah, saved my life. And so in that time, right in that time, we started a nonprofit here in Nashville called People Loving Nashville. And we started to it started really small, started just meet up with a group of people downtown that were unhoused and just were in need and didn't get 3 meals a day and slept outside and stuff like that. And so we started to kind of bring them meals and started to befriend each other, and like share our stories. And we ended up deciding to like do that every Monday night. And this is our 15th year of doing it, and we've never missed a Monday in 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. As an organization, I have missed a Monday.
I was gonna say, no one's gotten sick.
Yeah, I'm
Or
not.
like the kids haven't gotten sick.
Yeah, right. I was in labor, and I was on. No, yes, but so People in Nashville, I mean, at first it was like 10 of us, and then it was 20, and so now we help provide food and clothing and stuff for about 400 to 500 people a week, and then there's about 50 to 100 volunteers. So it's just this awesome thing. Anyways, all that to say, sorry, tangent.
Tangents are welcome here.
Yes, I know, right? That's what podcasts are all. That's why I love podcasts. It's like
It's you,
tangents
Rachel.
are great.
You just talk.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so that started in that time, and there was this the empty thing in me that was like, what do I do with my hands? Like, what am I doing? We started to serve. So, and that was just like the way that when that what was that verse, when you give your life away, you find life, you find yourself. And so and that was it. That was where kind of that rebuilding began, of just like, this is who you're created to be, not a performer, not all the music, all of that stuff will and can come and go however God chooses, but at the core of you, like, to give your life away is that's just been the essence of my life since then. And so yeah, that was it.
I think about just like the act of just being in community, whether it is like you're serving somebody, or I even know it's just so ironic to me, but this is so God, right? Like we serve a triune God, like we serve the Trinity, like God is in communion with the Father. I mean, with the Son and the Holy Spirit. And so like a lot of times our answer to healing ourselves, it's to be with others, whether that's physically serving like you did, or even just like a coffee shop chat with a friend. I mean, like serving them in some capacity. How are you doing? How is your day? And so I think about that from like both kind of standpoints. But you said there was like it was a while this period lasted where you were struggling with identity. And what's so interesting too about your story is now, like, to a degree, you're back in the spotlight. Like you just went on tour. So talk to me about, what did you learn in that season of anonymity, in that season of stillness behind the curtain, that like those tangible lessons you've learned now that you're able to take back in the spotlight, to where the thing that crumpled you last time, or that feeling you got, you're not experiencing that now.
Yeah. Well, and it's very, very full circle, because I'll jump out of the chronological thing for a second and jump to now. The reason why I'm in music again is very accidental. it, it was not like this plan of mine to be like, okay, I'm gonna have a baby and put out a new song all in one day. So I had a baby 1 year ago, and that's also when I had a song baby and created my old new single, Perfectly Loved. So this song was literally written from being in a jail ministry that I was doing through People Loving Nashville. We call it Wild Ones. And we basically just like read about the wild ones of the Bible, and Jesus being the wildest one. As far as like loving others, pushing against systems and pushing against norms to find a place for like the bigness that God has put inside of some people, and so we spend a lot of time together, and what you were saying also about community is in serving others, but also like allowing yourself to be served, in those relationships. Like way more times than not, I would be, in there to in the jail ministry to serve, but I for sure walked out having been served and having been listened to, or ministered to, or so like there was this big exchange and this big community, that was created in this jail ministry. And so up until like March 2020, was in the jails like every like 3 to 5 days a week. And I wasn't even doing music. I was like, there were a couple classes I would teach on songwriting, but mostly I was just like helping with some of our Bible classes, and just kind of getting girls from here to there, and just spending time with each other, sitting in like AA meetings and stuff with them in the jail. And so anyways, 2020 came around, March 2020, and they just completely locked us out of the jail, rightfully so. Everything was shut down, and there was a big risk in the jails. And so I was like, I want to write a song, for them. Like I don't know how else to like, speak to them or whatever. And so I wrote Perfectly Loved. And and I have a guest on the song, Toby Mack, and his wife actually is she is the Bible teacher in this jail ministry. So Amanda McKeon, and she is like the most amazing like soul and teacher and mentor and all of the stuff. And so that's how I came to ask Toby to be on it, because I'm like, okay, these girls, who I'm talking to, would you do this? And he's like, absolutely. So that was all that I planned on doing with that song. I'll leave it, like, even my text to Toby was like, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything crazy with this. I wanted to write a song for these girls, and I felt like it needed a male vocal. And so, yeah, so recorded that song. And then, the more I played it for people, the more people were like, oh, I think others need to hear this song. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think that's just
incorrect.
I don't need to go on tour. I don't need to start this whole thing up again. I have a 7-year-old and a newborn. And so, but then it just kind of, God was like, nah, I think I am going to do this. So I just kind of, so it's been a really unexpected year of just things kind of ramping back up, and me finding footing back in this whole thing, and trying to figure out what all to say yes to and to say no to, and all this stuff. So that's like, okay, so that was like part of your question. I think I am tangent city right now.
I love it. Before you go into part two, save that, because this is I'm curious, was your kind of entrance, if you will, into fame, into singing for big groups of people when you were younger versus now? What's the contrast there? Like, how, in regards to the difference in how you feel, the difference in how you carry yourself, and the difference in the process of how it tangibly happened?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, this time around, I am much more free than I was before. I was, I was a teenager, and there's just a certain amount of like itchiness that I had in general of just being alive, like being in high school is really hard, and in its own ways, and just not quite, knowing who you are, and how to stand and how to talk, and all that. I was for sure that girl in high school that just like, I don't know what I'm like, a jock one week, I'm a drama girl the next week, like who knows?
You're trying it all out.
Yeah, exactly. So there was that dimension, but also, I think there was such a big part of me that was just like, I really cared about what people thought about me, and if people were gonna like me, and if if I was doing well, numbers wise, that God had favor on me, and that I was doing the right thing. And I had a lot of these equations kind of like in my head of like how to measure if I'm doing the right thing, and if God loves me that much, and if God, wants me to do this. for
Yeah.
a living, so now, just from age, but also just from healing from a lot of that stuff. um I just know that God enjoys, God likes to, he wants me to enjoy this,
Mm,
and not for
mm,
this not to be a something that like pulls me away from him,
yeah.
obviously, and pulls me away from myself, and now pulls me away from my kids or my husband or my community, my sense of home. Like these are all things that I know that God wants for me, and so he, uh you know because of that, there's this freedom that I feel because I know that I can do without it, that
Yeah.
I'm not everything is built on top of this career,
Yeah.
um and even
Does that
ministry.
go, does that go back to, I know you said when you were younger, like the idea of sitting in a songwriting booth or whatever have you at a record studio, like writing and writing and writing, and the idea of like being burnt out, it that was part of the reason why you're like, this is not for me, and ended it. And now you use the word freedom. I know for me as a creator, and like we obviously we create different things, but when I was younger, I used to have this fear of running out. Like I
Yeah,
was going to wake up one day and I wasn't going to have an idea on
no
what
more
to
ideas. Yeah.
or what to talk about. Or I mean, does that fear, do you still experience that as a
All the
creator,
time.
or has
Yes.
your freedom released? Like, talk to me about that, because I personally struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a good example. That reminds me of a really great thing that I've had to learn this past year is I I have always been insecure about my songwriting. Like I've felt good about my vocal and my, like that was the part that I felt really comfortable with, and there's a lot of stuff that I feel pretty good about, like getting on stage and all that kind of stuff, but for some reason every time I go into a writing room I'd get really, really insecure about it. And there were some things that happened when I was younger, where like I remember I got laughed at, in a writing room for an idea that I had, and I don't think they knew that I knew they were laughing at me. And I was 14 years old, like opening my journal, so it was like a very, very vulnerable time. And so to get laughed at, I'm like, okay, screw that. Like, I don't want to share my heart anymore. Like, unless I know it's like the most amazing idea ever. So a big part of me got squashed, in that, and other kind of similar instances where, yeah, I just was like, I would believe the lie that got told to me in the moment, and I just kind of kept it. And so now, because of that freedom of knowing, like, I don't have to do anything to deserve God's love or to deserve the love of my family or my friends or my husband. Like, they love me because I just am. There's no foundation on what I do, that being my worth, where my worth lies. And so now I walk into a writing room and I'm like, all right, well, and usually I write with my friends, only. But even when I do like branch out and I write with other people, I'm like, okay, so I'm super insecure about writing, and but I know what I want to say, and I've got some little ideas here and there, but for the most part, like, I don't feel like I'm like gonna be able to lead this session or whatever. And that to me is like freedom, to be able to be like, here's the thing that I'm nervous about and worried about, and here's the thing that I do feel good about. And again, that's the body of Christ. Like, that's how he wants us to operate. Like, he wants us to come in and be like, hey, I'm good at being the left arm, like, can you be a right arm? And can you, and that's what draws community together. That's what draws, yeah, the family of God together. And I think we can't find that unless we do like continue to like, um desire freedom in his love, and in his grip, in his like within his walls. Even, freedom inside of walls, I know, is a weird thing, but um I I found that, I think, and that is ultimately the biggest difference between doing it now and doing it then.
Love that. I Because I think it's, and part of that ingredient to that freedom is is faith that he'll complete the gaps too. And I know
Yeah.
it's funny.
Yeah.
When I was younger, like when I was writing my first couple of books, I was not afraid for them to suck. I wasn't. Like I would open
Right.
the book, I'd be like, man, this is awful, but I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
God's gonna do it better tomorrow. But it was like as I got eyes on it, or as they got some sort of accolade, that's
Yeah.
when I was like, crap, what if I run out? And that's when the voices started. And I think that sometimes
Yeah.
any sort of success, it's like we always prepare our minds in a way for failure, and we talk about
Mhm.
God in your failure, but and you said this earlier, but no one talks about like what faith looks like when you experience success and how
Yeah.
that can kind of impact the creative process. But it's like making sure you have the faith. It's the courage to take it slow with God, whether it's a song
Yeah.
or a book or a conversation, like the courage to sit in it and say,
Yes.
you know what? I don't really know where this is going, but
Yeah.
I have faith in your ability to fill in the gaps,
Yes.
not my ability to check this off the list really fast.
Right. Yes. Oh my gosh. And that's just how he has always worked. Like in
Yeah.
any story, like he walks away when things when he's like when he was like the biggest hit, when Jesus was like really pulling the crowds, he was
Yeah.
like going to the woods. You know?
Literally, yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's the biggest thing. I was with a friend, we were at coffee the other day going through Matthew, and like, Jesus did the first miracle in this massive crowd, and then he went to go heal Peter's mother-in-law, and it's like he went from, most of
Yeah.
us would have stayed. We just
Right.
did this whole thing, we want to
Like
soak it in.
build
Like,
your business.
I know, right? It's like, all right, this is a great media moment. We need
Yeah.
all the shots and all the angles.
Yeah.
But
Not
I
how he
think
works.
one of your songs before we wrap up here that we've got to talk about is Somebody to You. Because it's
Okay.
I'm like, oh my gosh, Rachel, it has just ministered to me so
Oh.
much because I very much associated my worth with my work
Yes.
growing up. And I think sports did that, coming from a big family who all my siblings are so much cooler than me.
Oh
And
my
it
gosh.
did that. And so I'm curious, like with that song, kind of where did that also come from, what you do behind the scenes with the prison
Totally.
ministry, or like tell me about that?
It's a big piece. I mean, this whole conversation goes together because it's very much about what we've talked about with childhood, with feeling like you have to impress and get the likes and the follows and the the affirmation and just everybody's everybody's approval, and um I think we all have and maybe are in those moments, depending on where you're at in life. And um and I'm just speaking to to that girl or that boy or that or me, in those moments where I'm like, okay, I don't, the words are just I don't have to be somebody because I'm already somebody to you. Like you have already decided that I am worthy of love, of joy, of peace, also of hardship and the fullness of life, like the all the way up and the all the way down, like is it that is what God wants for us. Like he wants us to have a full life. Um and I think when, in the grand scheme of like, who am I and what's my purpose and what am I here to do? Like, I know so many people that didn't find that till way later in life. My husband actually, like, we met, I think I was 25 when we got married. He was like 28, 29, and he just recently became a therapist like a few years ago. And
That's
it is the thing that like all of his friends are like, of course you are. Like, you've always been our therapist. You've been everybody's therapist, and um but like he's finally like his job caught up to his gifting, but like his gifting has always been there and it's always been a part of him. And so I think that like, sorry, another tangent, but like somebody to you is it's one of those things where it's like he has created you with everything that you need and everything that he meant for you. And it's not our jobs to decide like when the world is going to be able to see that, or when we're supposed to make our big debut onto the stage of life. Like um we we're already there, we're already in that process, we're in the story, and
yeah,
um so yeah, that song, it has a
so
lot to
good.
it, but Yeah.
Well, and I think it touches on a point I was listening to. Do you know who Jackie Hill Perry is? She's a great
Yes. Yeah.
Bible teacher. And I was listening to a sermon she was preaching on Hagar
Okay.
and how it's one thing to see, but it's another thing to feel seen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially in this upcoming generation, we see a lot. We see a lot of other people who we think are being seen. And I think at our core, we just want to be seen. Like we just want to know someone sees us. And God presented himself to Hagar, this servant from Egypt that wasn't even really supposed to be in the picture, but because of, anyways, great Bible story. Everyone go read it. But in that moment, her point was Hagar had seen a lot, but had never felt seen. And God made her feel seen. And I think, I mean, what a word. And I mean, your music does that with, I know I can personally attest, like it makes me, it reminds me of the one who ultimately sees me and is always seen me. Not just when like something goes great, but when something is also in the crap rocker, right? Like when it's not a southern phrase that I just made up, but when it's going great. And but it's true. It's like, you know, he loves us too much to make us or to let us not go through storms, but he also loves us too much to not meet us in the middle. And your story is such a testament to that. And Rachel, last question as we're rounding out here, you know, this younger generation, this entire conversation was around basically giving them a word, right? But if you were to look at Rachael in this time when you were younger, like in your teens, what advice did she give you right now? Okay, if you do. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. I don't know why I'm thinking about this right now, but you said the word sweet, and then previously you talked about life being simple. And someone told me the other day, Annie, you got to keep your life like ice cream. You got to keep it sweet. You got to keep it simple and never apologize for too many sprinkles. And I was like, that's so good. That's so no, but it's so true. And to your point, like God is more interested in him fulfilling the purpose he has for your life than even you are. And we just got to keep our eyes on the giver, not the gift, right? And I think that's when everything comes to pass. But Rachel, you do that. And that's why I wanted you on. I was so excited. I knew this was gonna happen. I didn't know when, but I knew it was because you just are such a light. And I'm so grateful for your ministry through your music and your courage to get back in the arena because people like me are impacted by it. So thank you for your heart and thank you for being on Made to Shine today. Thank you. And I hope that this blessed you and encouraged you, reminded you that God gave you a unique light, and it is your job to shine it in this world because we need you to. That being said, if you were blessed by this message and you can think of anybody else that also needs this type of encouragement, do me a favor, hit like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment. It helps me out a lot and helps this message that I do believe God gave my heart to share with the world gets out. I hope you have such an amazing rest of your day.